Welcome to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Now here's your host, Tim McMahon.
Hey, it's Tim, and I am back, as promised, with my top 5 favorite lines of dialogue from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, prequel memes are all the rage with the kids today online, so I've tried my best not to pick lines that have been over-memed. Let's see how well I did.
Number 1.
Okay, line number 1 really isn't a line of dialogue, but rather a line from the opening crawl. And it's not really a line, it's just one word. War. I always love the power behind this beginning. It's forceful, it sets the stage, it tells you so much with so little. I mean, it is called Star Wars after all. You couldn't get a more appropriate opening to any Star Wars film. Now, if I had been George Lucas, I would have made the entire prequel trilogy set against the backdrop of the Clone Wars, like the OT was set against the backdrop of the Galactic Civil War. Sadly, I'm not George Lucas. Anyway, I've always loved this word at the beginning of Episode 3. There you go.
Number 2.
Not from a Jedi.
There is a lot to dissect in the Opera House Darth Plagueis the Wise scene, but if I had to dilute it down to one line of dialogue, it is this one. I believe that with this line, Anakin's fate is sealed. It is at this point for him, even more so than when he attacks Mace Windu or when he slaughters the younglings, it is this line of dialogue that represents Anakin's point of no return. Once he learns that there is power out there that will allow him to protect his loved ones from death, there is nothing that's going to stop him from attaining this knowledge. Plus, Ian McDiarmid's delivery of this line is bone-chillingly perfect. Ooh, just gives me chills thinking about it. And hey, speaking of killing younglings...
Number 3.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Wow. Just wow. Every time I hear this line from Sors Bandia, yeah, that's his character name, Sors Bandia, followed by the ignition of the lightsaber, I literally get a chill down my spine. I get the feels, as the young kids are saying today. If I had seen this scene when I was a child, it would have given me nightmares. My imagination would have worked overtime filling in the blanks about what happened next. And while the child actor, whose name I can't find online for some reason, may not be the most accomplished thespian, there is an innocence and a trust in his delivery that hits you right in the heart, right in the gut. And man, don't get me going about his startled jump back when the saber ignites. Oh man, that poor kid.
Number 4.
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
I mentioned this one yesterday. This is another one that pulls at your heartstrings. And while I have issues of how Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship is handled in the prequel trilogy, this scene works for me because it fits perfectly into my headcanon. Yeah, I have headcanon. I have problems. All the gaps in the story that I have filled in with my imagination give this line even more power than I think the films do. But that said, this line with the movies to back it up only is still darn mighty powerful. Oh man, and the emotion that Ewan McGregor gives it, masterful. Simply masterful.
Number 5.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Okay, I said I wasn't going to use lines that have been over-memed. Well, the memeing of this line hasn't taken away from its power for me personally. While I often joke about the overuse of politics in the prequel trilogy, this line perfectly wraps up that element of the saga, well, of the prequels anyway, and puts a nice bow on it. The sadness, the inevitability, the realness of it. And I say real because history has shown that people do this to themselves far too often. Societies put strongmen who promise security into power far too often and freely give up too many of their liberties. And hey, ask yourself, how well does that ever work out? Really? This is a political lesson that people haven't learned from history, so maybe they can learn it from Star Wars. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. I know I'm getting a little preachy, so forgive me. Anyway, there you go. Those are my top 5 favorite lines of dialogue from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, even if it took me a little refresher course to come up with 5. Hey, what are your favorite lines from Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith? I want to know. Email me at 12parsekspodcast@gmail.com or connect with me on any of my social media accounts. All the links can be found on my website, 12parsekspodcast.com. Thanks for listening. Hootini!
You've been listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy, part of the expanded Fandomverse network of shows. For links and show notes, visit our website, 12parsekpodcast.com. Follow Less Than 12 Parsecs on Twitter at 12parpod, on Instagram at 12parsekspodcast, on Tumblr at 12parsekspodcast, and find us on Facebook as well. And please let us know what you think. Email us at 12parsekspodcast@gmail.com.